Yellow, otherwise known as misery in a bottle. Streaky. Poor coverage. Looks like a newborn's nappy. The list of complaints are well known. Is there anything that can be done? Or are we forever destined to never enjoy painting when this monstrosity is on the palette?
Hi there, I'm Matt. This is Coffee and Paint Water, and in this video I'm going to have a look at a few options of paints you can use. And if you stick with me to the end, I'll show you my recipe for getting my Bad Moon Orcs army ready for the warg. Now, let's be clear here, I've not exactly reinvented the wheel. I'm sure there are some people out there that are definitely doing this already. There's probably even a YouTube video or two about this. I've just come across enough people that definitely hate the colour so much, it's absolutely a deal breaker for them. Yellow's one of the trickier paints, and for the large part, I think people tend to avoid it. If you're not happy with the end results, you just don't pick up a brush. Yellow's kind of like white. Painting large panels or sections of a model can feel just too hard. Hands up, who thinks Corex White is the best paint going? Anyone? Anyone out there? Nah. White, by all accounts, in recent years has had a saviour though. Pro Acryl's bold titanium white. In my opinion, it does exactly what it promises. It's easy to use, clean, strong coverage. Getting your hands on this paint in Australia though, it's tricky and the cost is pretty extreme. The cheapest I've actually found is around about $11. Yikes, that Aussie hobby tax strikes again. It is bigger, and probably one bottle will do you for a very long period of time. But still, that's a hard chunk of money just to sink into a single paint, even if it's clearly been crafted by the horn of a unicorn. Yellow though, I've yet to find a consensus of a single paint that does it all. I'm a Bad Moons Orc kind of guy, because for some reason I decided I wanted to torture myself for the rest of my life. Whatever though. Honestly, I just wanted something that was visually a little bit different after painting thousands of Dark Angels over the years. As I'm a complete and utter paint whore, I've managed to assemble a collection of many yellow paints in my hope that it would end the suffering. I wanted my orcs to be grimdark, but it's just a nice yellow pop. It was something a bit more interesting to add to the tabletop. I played around with a few different techniques, bought more yellow paints than I needed, which will forever gather dust, and I managed to settle on a recipe that I'm happy with going forward. This can be used for more than orcs, of course. You know, hazard stripes, Imperial Fists, anything where large yellow coverage is required. I think this would look good and relatively pain-free. So first on the block of many wasted dollars on the pursuit of the perfect yellow paint was Vallejo Game Color. It's the older style, not the newer variant of course, but I just found it watery. It's very light in tone for the one I actually chose, which was Moon Yellow, and it requires seemingly 20 or so coats thereabouts to actually get the work done. This definitely is a paint that will sit on the shelf for a foreseeable future and only really make a rare appearance when I think about it. Next up, I was just about starting to read about this whole fancy contrast world, and I didn't really understand how it worked back in the day, honestly. So I just stumbled on this reduced bottle of instant colour, and I was sold by the name. Instant Colour. The paint is over, guys. It's been solved. The store clerk told me, yeah, it's scales contrast equivalent, you need one coat of it. What he failed to tell me was that it had the same level of coverage of dirty paint water. It's awful. I hate it. It's just awful. Nothing redeeming about it. Yeah, that's definitely my error for doing no research before I bought it, but I hate it.
Next up is the Imperial Fist contrast paint from GW. Labelled by many as just the greatest yellow paint in the world, and honestly, Yeah, it does have great coverage. It really goes on pretty well. No concerns in that way, but it's not what I was looking for. It's just a bit too vibrant for my purposes. I feel like I would need to do more to it to kind of get it to where I was hoping for it to be. And honestly, even though the coverage is great, it doesn't ever seem to end up like it does in the videos when I see the professionals applying it. It just doesn't go on quite the same. I suppose we could just go old school with it though. I've still got this paint knocking around from about 1995-ish. I probably would have picked this up. It's a relic I found in my mum's house last time I took a trip back, along with a bunch of other vintage goodies. It still looks as fresh as the day I got it. Pretty full too. But there might be a reason. Goblin Green, this paint is not. Now, the smell, and disclaimer, I do not recommend sniffing paint, despite how good it does smell. It brings back great memories, but this, notoriously, has atrocious coverage. This would probably take you about 15 layers to actually get this to a good, vibrant yellow. So here's where I get to the one, Avalon Sunset by Games Workshop. I found it needs a couple of thin coats. It's not some miracle one coat and done, but it's consistently good coverage, even over black primer. It's not your sickly bright yellow, and yeah, it's probably not something you'd use for maybe a Batronian Night where you want that kind of sharp lemon yellow colour. What it gives me is something I'm happy with in a grimdark setting, personally. Why stop with orcs, though? Need some hazard stripes for Necromunda? Go for it, this will do the job. Maybe some servo vehicles. Maybe a band of squats. Alright, everyone calm down, they're definitely called squats. It's adapted to a number of those different kind of needs that hopefully suit you too. But this alone isn't the recipe. Once I'm happy with that nice even base coat, my trick is then a contrast paint. I actually got this guy as part of an old mixed eBay lot. I'm not sure it would have been something I would have picked up otherwise, but I'm really happy I found it because this is where I get to get to the colour I want. I use this yellow more like a wash than a contrast paint. It tints the colour of the cloth or panels to a rich, deeper yellow shade. Overall, evening out that colour, it just kind of adds to the recesses around rivets and things, and gets that kind of deep orange kind of pop, which you'd be shocked to know gives some great contrast. I've tried the contrast on its own over white and didn't love the look, but using it in combination really works. Next, I very lightly dry brush the edges with a kind of cream yellow colour and pick out some definition. And with my orcs being your grimy grimdark boys, my next step is I just use some sponge to chip the armour. Rhinox hide is really effective. I'm sure you've seen this done many times before. But that's it. That's my recipe for easy and effective orc armour. Nothing too hard, not too many steps, and I honestly think it comes out looking fantastic. This works on other things too. You can use it on fabric. You obviously just have to skip that whole chipping part, but definitely effective for big flat panels like on bikes or grot tanks, anything you need for a war. Honestly, as much as Imperial Fists actually look pretty great in their yellow speed paint, if I were painting one, I'd actually probably do it this way. I'd dirty them up, make them look like this, and it kind of gives them that effect of they are the last defense. They're holding the line against the hordes of chaos. I really like this look. Hopefully you do too.